Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk, the most fact-driven, unbiased true crime channel. First on the docket today, if you have little faith in the criminal justice system, well, I guess this story won't shock you too much. Second, the man accused of killing his two young children, well, he's being comped. That's right, looking at his competency. Third, R. Kelly's trial began this week, and it's not going so well for R. Kelly. Don't trust men? Well, this one will give you another reason why not to trust men. Sirhan Sirhan, you may recall that name. Yeah, that's right. He's been in custody now for 50 years. He's up for parole. And then finally, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Crime Talk, and my name is Scott Reich. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so, please hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that little bell so that you receive notifications of when we go live or put up new content. As always, you can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, as well as Instagram. Before we get to the docket today, let's talk about one of the sponsors that we have here at Crime Talk. And hey, please support our sponsors because they support us. Now, have you ever got that uneasy feeling about the future? I think we all have. You can't really put your finger on it, but you think, hey, maybe something's just not right. Maybe things just don't feel like they're going great. Well, millions of Americans, just like you, feel that way, and they have been stockpiling up on emergency food while they can. You need to have enough food if there is some sort of sudden crisis. I don't know, a hurricane, a pipeline that's shut down, a snowstorm, a computer hack. All those things, I think we've all seen recently that those types of circumstances can shut down major supply chains rather quickly. Well, please go to crimetalkprep.com. Right now, you can save 25% on a 4-week emergency food kit. You'll enjoy a hearty breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, and snacks totaling over 2,000 calories per day, while everyone else could be standing in a food line or just realizing that the grocery store shelves are empty. Now, this food can stay available and edible for up to 25 years. So go to crimetalkprep.com. Get your 4-week emergency food supply today. You'll be happy you did. All right, first on the docket. If you have little faith in the criminal justice system, this story will only reinforce that faith, that little faith, all right? So the South Dakota Attorney General, we've talked about this. His name is Jason Ramsborg. Well, he pled no contest to 2 of the 3 misdemeanor traffic charges related to the September 20th collision that killed 55-year-old Joseph Bover. Now, another charge is going to be dropped in the plea deal that may allow the Attorney General to avoid any jail time in the death of the pedestrian that he killed last year. Now, Ramsborg pled no contest to the charge of making an illegal lane change and using a phone while driving. As part of the plea agreement, prosecutors dropped the careless driving charge, which was the most serious charge, and the cell phone while driving and illegal lane change counts each carry a maximum sentence of 30 days in jail and a $500 fine. The state also agreed that they would remain silent as to the defendant's request for a suspended sentence. So what does that really mean? First, he pled no contest. A lot of courts don't accept a no contest plea because what it says is, well, I'm not saying I did, I'm not saying I didn't, but I'm willing to accept responsibility. Sometimes the courts will allow that on minor offenses. This seems like something the court would have demanded somebody enter a plea of guilty to. A suspended sentence is basically that jail is imposed, but not actually served on the condition that they successfully complete probation. And when a district attorney says they will stand silent As it relates to the request for a suspended sentence to the judge, that is a wink and a nod to the judge that we don't disagree, but more than likely we have to deal with the family who wants some sort of jail, so I'm not going to say anything about it. I'll let the victims state what their position is. So what that really means is the prosecutors could have fought and demanded jail, but they didn't. Now, we put up the video of the interview between Ramsberg and law enforcement agents that revealed Mr. Beaver's eyeglasses were found in the Attorney General's severely damaged vehicle. Ramsberg's claims that he had not been drinking at the political fundraising dinner and that he did not have an elevated blood alcohol level when he was tested 15 hours after the crash. As you may recall, Ramsberg called his chief of staff, and then a state trooper allowed him to drive his personal car home. That's right. The Attorney General was allowed to drive the car of the state trooper who was first on the scene. That's right. The state trooper let him drive his own personal car home. The following day, Ramsberg returns with his chief of staff, and they say, "Oh, look, here's the crash scene. Oh my goodness, what have happened? I thought I hit a deer." The victim's glasses, Mr. Beaver's glasses, were in the car because he had gone through the windshield. Tell me this doesn't stink, right? Well, the defense attorney for the Attorney General, he seemed to criticize the victim's family for demanding a harsher punishment. He said the family view of the incident legally didn't fit the facts of the case and therefore was basically wrong. So the defense basically said, screw the victims. They have no idea what they're talking about. And did I happen to mention that, it's the Attorney General over here, the chief law enforcement officer in the state of South Dakota, pleading no contest to charges. Well, what did the judge do? As typical, he ordered that defendant, Attorney General Ramsberg, pay $3,742.38 as restitution to the county for the costs of the investigation. He denied the request for the funeral costs to be paid to the family, saying the family had insurance proceeds to pay for the victim's funeral. Ouch. Most judges allow that, and it falls under the mandatory victims' rights funds. But I guess if you're the Attorney General, it doesn't matter. Now, a lot of people are saying that the Attorney General should resign, and if he doesn't, he should be impeached. I think the top law enforcement officer, he's the top law enforcement officer. He has to do things better and cleaner than everybody else in the state because he's out there enforcing the laws. Just like if you did something, say you were a CDL truck driver and you had your license and it was suspended, guess what? You would lose your job because of your conduct. Why is that different for politicians? They think that they're entitled to their job. You're a public servant, you failed as a public servant, and now you need to go. Let's hope the Attorney General does the right thing, but somehow I don't think he will. Apparently, he's already planning on his re-election bid. Next on the docket, do you remember the story we brought you last week regarding Matthew Taylor Coleman? That's right. He's the 40-year-old surf instructor who took two of his children and drove them to Mexico, where he ultimately killed them. Needless to say, he's undergoing a psychological evaluation while he is being held in custody. Now, the FBI alleges that Coleman took the kids to a ranch in Mexico where he killed them with a spearfishing gun, returned to his hotel a few hours later, and then he was ultimately arrested trying to cross the border back into the United States. Now, according to the arrest affidavit, it is alleged that Coleman claimed to be enlightened by the QAnon and the Illuminati conspiracy theories and was receiving visions and signs revealing that his wife, that's right, possessed serpent DNA and had passed on that DNA to the children. So Coleman believed that his children were monsters and that he therefore had to kill them. Coleman's wife, Abby, said she never had any idea he thought all these crazy things. She thinks that he kind of just snapped. Something must have happened in his brain. It's unclear when the psychological assessment will be conducted or ultimately completed, or whether the results will be publicly released. Not more than likely. However, we'll probably have a pretty good idea as to whether the case will go forward. And when I mean go forward in the sense of Will he be competent to stand trial? Will he be competent to understand the proceedings? And will he have to be restored to competency before we can proceed? We'll just have to wait and see. But obviously, the next time he shows up in court and they enter pleas of not guilty, that means that he is competent to proceed. We will continue to follow this case. It just makes no sense. You can never try to rationalize why somebody would hurt a child, let alone their own children. All right, next on the docket, R. Kelly's trial. Yeah, not going so well for R. Kelly. Who called this one? Yeah, that's right, this guy. Well, over the last week, a dozen jurors have been told over and over again that R. Kelly was at the helm of a vast and twisted criminal enterprise devoted to helping him prey on young people and blackmail them into total submission. One testimony has left jurors horrified. An anonymous woman who's going to be identified as Jane said she had a 5-year relationship with R. Kelly, starting when she was just 17 years old. She broke down in tears while giving her testimony, saying that R. Kelly would make her smear feces on her mouth and eat it. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you can't make this stuff up, but this is real stuff. There are a bunch of sick people in the world. We continue. Now, Jane's testimony also alluded to other horrors the singer imposed on her, like being kept in a room for 3 days after buying the wrong-sized Hollister sweatpants, or beaten with a size 12 Air Force One tennis shoe for lying to the singer. In 2017, the woman that is identified as Jane said that she said the singer also forced her to have an abortion in an effort to keep her body tight. Jane was far from alone in what the prosecutors described as a sword web of abuse and misconduct. The first witness to testify, a Jordana Pace, she's now 28, told jurors she was sexually and physically abused by Kelly when she was 16 years old. And during their 6-month relationship, she said that Kelly also gave her herpes without at least initially disclosing that he had the disease. Now, Jeffrey Kramer, a former federal prosecutor, said he believes that the prosecution so far has been doing a very good job at hammering the common theme that these witnesses were abused. The defense has yet to punch hard enough to cause enough reasonable doubt to a jury. I would agree. This is not going well for R. Kelly. I feel the pain for his attorneys. I once represented a priest who would only take in children of a particular age and ethnic background for foster care. And the victims who had never met kept coming in after one another and testifying to the same story and MO. It was the longest 2 weeks of my life. Needless to say, things are going as well for R. Kelly as they did for that particular individual. Courtroom observers have also said that given the graphic nature of the testimony, the jury is not going to have too much of a problem believing the witnesses, given what they had to go through, and basically not wanting to get up there and tell their story to a bunch of strangers. Often a compelling argument in closing for sure. Now, attorneys representing several R. Kelly accusers on the civil side says that Jane's testimony is just the beginning. The government still has much more to come. There will be at least 3 more weeks of this testimony. And the problem with defending these types of cases that Mr. R. Kelly and his attorney are going to have to come up with is you're going to have these individuals who have never met, who all have very similar stories, and you can only go with the liar, liar, pants on fire defense for so long before people just say, wow, there's a lot of people with the exact same allegation. All right, next on the docket. If you have lost faith in men, maybe mankind, well, you may not want to listen to this story because it will only increase your distrust of men. A Georgia man and a master manipulator by the name of Rodney William Metzer, he's 36. Get this, he kidnapped his ex-wife so he could then pretend to rescue her. Apparently, Metzger hatched the plan in a bid to win back his former wife after his fake cancer diagnosis didn't grab her attention. So on January 1st, while armed and wearing a mask to conceal his identity, Metzger broke into his ex's home, hit her with the butt of a gun, and tried to strangle her. He zip-tied her hands, assaulted her, and placed a pillowcase over her head while dragging her to the back deck. While his ex-wife was still tied up outside, Metzger then went back to his apartment to change his clothes before returning to find his former partner still tied up. Now, investigators later found surveillance video showing Metzger leaving a Lowe's while carrying, that's right, a pack of zip ties. Other footage also showed him changing his clothes at his apartment, which contradicts his claim about his whereabouts prior to the assault. In today's world, Metzger also had developed a plan that investigators believed included him killing his ex-wife and then taking his own life, but he thought he couldn't go through with this plan and went through with the fake kidnapping plan instead. And we obviously see how that turned out. Ultimately, Metzger pled guilty back in August to 14 charges, including kidnapping, home invasion, and sexual battery. A judge sentenced him to 25 years in prison, followed by 45 years of probation, which I think just about ought to cover it. Can you believe that that guy thought he was going to get away with it? Clearly, he is a narcissistic, controlling, domestic abuser that should stay in prison. All right, if you've never met a narcissist, perhaps you may want to check them out and see if there's anything in their background. I encourage you to go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, get that background subscription service today so that you can check out and maybe at least get a little bit of information and see if somebody is somebody you really want to be with. Let's take a quick recess. Please go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched, and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did. Sirhan Sirhan. You remember that name? You probably read about it in books in school. Well, he's the man that was convicted of assassinating Robert F. Kennedy, right? The brother of John F. Kennedy. Well, he is up for parole again. And at the parole hearing on Friday, after prosecutors confirmed they would not contest his release, they basically believe that 50 years is good enough. Well, Sirhan stood trial for the murder in 1969 and was originally sentenced to death. However, that sentence was commuted to life in prison 3 years later after capital punishment was briefly outlawed by the California Supreme Court. Robert F. Kennedy's son, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has long maintained that Sirhan did not fire the fatal shots that killed his father and previously called for a fresh investigation into the killing. Now, Sirhan has spent 53 years in prison for the first-degree murder of the late New York Senator and Democrat presidential hopeful, Robert F. Kennedy. Now, Sirhan is now 77, and in a hearing in 2016, he told the parole commissioners that while he felt remorse for the crime, he does not remember the shooting, so he could not take responsibility for the shooting. The parole board concluded that Sirhan had not shown adequate remorse or understanding of his crime. The decision on whether or not to release Sirhan will ultimately rest with the two-person parole panel. Once it's been announced, the parole board will have 90 days to review the decision. After that, it will be passed on to the governor, who will also have the opportunity to veto that decision. The fact that the victim's family is okay with it and the prosecutors are okay with it means that they want to get Mr. Sirhan out of custody. My guess is it's because he probably has some health issues and he's getting expensive. That's right. So they'll let it come out of another pot of money when he gets out of custody, since he'll have little to no skill since he's been incarcerated for 50 years. He's probably never used a cellular telephone, maybe used a computer in prison, but probably doesn't have much skills to get him through his daily life. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that time you've been waiting for every day, the dumb criminal contestant of the day. And who is our dumb criminal contestant of the day? Well, it's Kejon Griffin of Atlanta. Now, he ultimately has turned himself in, but what did he do that got him the dumb criminal contestant? That's right. He stole a van outside of a mortuary. Now, Mr. Griffin, you would think if you're going to steal a van, you may want to take a quick look and see what's in the back, because when the dumb criminal contestant, Mr. Griffin, got into a bit of a chase with the police officers, he realized that, that's right, there was a body in the back, and the body was rolling back and forth in the back of the vehicle. Now, he somehow was able to get away from the police during this pursuit. He ultimately crashed into multiple vehicles, and a tire blew out. He ditched the vehicle and ran on foot for a while, and he ultimately turned himself in later to police. Now, Mr. Griffin, you did the right thing by turning yourself in because they knew who you were. The stupid thing is, one, that you stole somebody else's car, for God's sakes. If it's not yours, don't touch it. I know your mother taught you better than that. Keep your hands off of other people's things. Particularly keep your hands off of other people's things where there's dead bodies in the back of the van, Mr. Griffin. That is why you are a dumb criminal contestant of the day. Now let's do a quick recap of our dumb criminal contestants throughout the week. Monday, an alarm went off in a correctional center in Redwood City, California, where correctional officers went in and checked and found that a 35-year-old man, Moises Dona Robles, sitting inside the lobby under the influence of meth and alcohol. He admitted the same, and he was ultimately arrested for that charge, and they haven't charged him for actually breaking into the jail. That's right. He had to scale up a wall to get into the jail pod. Meth and alcohol will do that to you. Now, we had a bit of a break because, well, remember I was in trial, and yes, we did get a not guilty to all 13 counts. And for the people that commented, oh my God, how can you do that? Yada, yada, yada. You know what? Go talk to the district attorney who failed to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Bottom line, I don't need to hear it, okay? Thursday, police responded to a call early Saturday morning about a disturbance in an Iowa apartment building. Kyle Clark, 19, and another man were face-to-face yelling at each other. When the police saw Clark, he tried to walk away. They noticed that he had a large bulge under his shirt, like he was trying to hide something. Well, police asked him if that was a bag of weed, and Clark walked himself into a dead end trying to escape. As Clark was being handcuffed, that large bulge, ultimately being a large bag of marijuana, did fall from under his shirt, and he stated, quote, "That's not mine," end quote. That's right. That is up there with, "Those are not my pants." Well, Clark's been charged with felony and misdemeanor drug counts for the 4-ounce bag of marijuana, and he's been booked into the county jail and was later released on a bond. And then obviously today, Kejon Griffin stealing the van with the dead body in the back. Let me know who you think is the most dumb for this week, right? The guy that breaks into the jail drunk and on meth, the man that claims that the bag of marijuana was not his, or the man that steals the van with the dead body in the back. Leave your comments below. We'll tally up the numbers, and we'll announce the winner next week. What will the winner get? That's right, CrimeTalk gear. If you would like CrimeTalk gear without having to become a dumb criminal contestant, hit the link below. You can have that gear within a couple of days. There's some really cool stuff on there as well. And don't forget, check out the links to our sponsors. All right, have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk.